What is up, everybody? This is JP, your online personal trainer. First things first, I know I haven't had a video in about 2 weeks. That's because not this week, but last week I started school. For those of you who don't know, I'm getting my bachelor's in exercise science. Then I'm moving over to get my DPT, which is my doctorate in physical therapy. I plan to do that at least if everything goes smoothly. So far, everything's going good. All my grades are A's and B's, mostly A's. I got a few B's here and there, but yeah, I've just been really swamped because of school. I'm taking 17 credits and along with, trying to make some content for my website, which my website is jpthepersonaltrainer.com, jpthepersonaltrainer.com, no dashes, no spaces. Check that out. I'm trying to basically put more stuff on that website for articles, blogs, workouts, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of stuff to do for that. I got schoolwork. I'm trying to upkeep with my videos, and then I have a Facebook, Instagram, and a Twitter, which I post to now and then for fitness stuff. So I'm trying to basically do everything, and then on top of that, I work out 6 times a week. So it's keeping me pretty busy. But yeah, that's why I didn't do a video for 2 weeks. Just so you guys know, some of you guys don't care for excuses, but it's whatever. Chemistry is a bitch. I mean, if you took chemistry too, it's pretty unbearable. It's a lot of work you got to do. I mean, it's fun learning about it, but it's just a lot of work that comes with it. It's pretty cool. But let me know down below in the comments what classes you guys don't like if you've gone to college, or even if you're in high school. Let me know what your least favorite class is. I mean, I like chemistry. It's interesting, but like I said, it's a lot of work. But anyways, today's video is going to be on unilateral exercises, or exercises for basically doing exercises with one arm, one limb. It could be one leg or one arm. And why that you should definitely incorporate them into your workout routine in some way. A lot of people ignore unilateral exercises for many reasons. One, they just don't think about it. Two, they think it's lame. 1 versus 2 arms. 3, I guess they get lazy with their programming. 4, they don't get to move as much weight, which again, people like sticking to the traditional bench press, back squat, deadlift with the barbell. And when the second you take away a barbell, it's not as fun for them. It's not as interesting, even though they probably would be able to see more results. And again, in the past, I've been guilty of this too, and I'm getting a lot better with incorporating unilateral exercises. But the first benefit of unilateral exercises is proper muscular balance. This is probably the #1 benefit with unilateral exercises. If you're used to doing using barbells all the time, and even if you're someone who says, well, I don't use barbells, I use dumbbells. Yeah, dumbbells can, because you have an equal amount of weight on each side, or well, hopefully you're picking an equal amount of weight on each side for whatever exercises you're doing. Let's just say a dumbbell bench press. You're still getting a proper balance on each side. Yes, each arm is getting an equal load, but it's still not creating as much of a core demand, which is going to be the second benefit, a core demand or a demand on that side of your body that a unilateral exercises will do. So, and again, most of the time people don't usually use dumbbells, even if it's with 2 hands. They usually don't use dumbbell exercises. So again, you need to have proper muscular balance. If you have an even force distribution through both limbs, like let's just say during a squat, or let's just say during a bench press, then you're going to overall be able to lift more weight. And for hypertrophy, strength, for whatever your goal is, it's going to benefit you better. And on top of that, just to be able to prevent injuries. If you don't have proper muscular balance, and then let's just say your non-dominant leg doesn't put as much force as it should be during a squat, and that force tends to shift to your low back, and then you pull a muscle on your low back size, bam, you're out like what, 3, 4, 5 weeks or whatever until you feel like you can do squats again. And that can really hinder you gaining muscle in the long run if you're not staying healthy. So again, proper muscular balance. #2 is increased core activation. That's a gimme too, but again, a lot of people don't see the benefits of this. The higher demand on your core during unilateral exercises will help you when you go over back to doing 2 limbs or bilateral exercises, because think about it like this. If your core is tasked heavily during unilateral exercises, it's not going to be as tasked as heavily when doing bilateral exercises. And because your core will be able to stabilize more better during bilateral exercises, because you're doing unilateral exercises too, then you're going to be able to have a better force transfer along the kinetic chain. Basically, you're going to transfer more force from the ground up, whatever exercise you're doing, which is going to let you be able to push more weight. It'd be the same thing as, let's just say someone never ever ever did a single leg squat ever, and you have them do a single leg squat, they're probably not going to be able to push that much weight. Now, if you take someone who does single leg squats all the time, they're probably going to be able to do a light weight with their single leg squat, unlike the other person who might not even be able to do it with any weight. The fact that they can push more weight with a single leg squat shows how stabilization and balance lets you be stronger. The person who does it all the time knows how to stabilize. They know how to transfer more force from the ground up through their kinetic chain, so they're able to push more weight. Just because it's a single leg exercise doesn't mean that doesn't apply to a bilateral exercise where you're using 2 hands or 2 feet. So if you can stabilize and get tight better, and you have overall just a tighter core, tighter glutes, everything, you're going to be able to push more weight, plain and simple. So again, if you have a stronger core, which a lot of people don't like to work out their core, you can, I'm not saying do these to substitute core work. I feel like core work needs to be done in and of itself, which is another video for another day. But definitely, if you want to incorporate these in to tackle core a little bit, I would definitely, that's one of the benefits of it, is increased core activation. The third benefit, which again, this is just a little controversial, and again, it's not 100% sure, or it's not 100%, I guess, correct. It is correct, but it's not 100% for sure in whatever scientific literature regarding exercise. It's called bilateral deficit. What bilateral deficit is that if you were to take one limb, whether that be one arm and one leg, and you were to test your max and whatever that is, let's just say your overhead press with the dumbbell with one arm, let's just say your 5 rep max with a single arm overhead press with the dumbbell, let's just say that's 70 pounds or 65 pounds. Let's just say it's 65 pounds for 5 reps. That's your max. Now, let's just say your overhead press with 2 dumbbells is total, you can only do 60 pounds at each hand when you do an overhead press with 2 dumbbells. That is basically showing bilateral deficit. How come you can't do double what you can with both arms than what you can with a single arm? A lot of the studies that tackle bilateral deficit, they target the legs in these studies. Like they'll do a study, and if I remember to link it, I'll link it below, but you can look it up on PubMed. If you go to PubMed and type in bilateral deficit and single leg squats, it'll come up. It'll be the first thing that pops up on Google. Basically, the study goes over single leg squats, and basically everyone, they had everything, mostly everything controlled, and they took people and they made them do a single leg squat, and I think they made them do a double leg squat too. Yeah, so they basically did a jumping squat with the single leg and then with the both legs. And basically they looked at, what they were looking at is how come you can't jump twice as high when you use both legs versus when you use a single leg, which is kind of weird. When you think about it, because there's 2 legs versus 1, you should be able to use 2. But what they came down to, or the conclusion, is that you can't do that because of the increased velocity at which you move when you use 2 legs. So yeah, you can't jump twice as high, but you are moving your body at a higher rate versus than when you do it with a single leg, which again, that makes sense. So you're basically doing more in a different type of way, not necessarily height, but you're doing it more in velocity. But again, what I'm trying to say is with bilateral deficit, if it's not 100% conclusive, but that could be a possible benefit of it too, is that when you train one arm, or one leg, you can overload that leg or arm more than you could if you were to do both legs at the same time. So if you were to do, like I said, a single arm overhead press with the dumbbell, you can overload it more than if you were to do both arms at the same time. So that could definitely be a perceived benefit, and I would not ignore that. And the fourth reason that unilateral training is good is specificity. Depending on what your goal is. For anyone doing sports, you're almost always going to be put in a position where you are not properly balanced with 2 feet on the ground, or your back against the bench. Football, soccer, basketball. I mean, look at basketball and football. For anyone who ever touches the ball, period, you're going to have some type of ball or something on one side, not both sides. And even then, for like linemen, for example, in the football, you're not going to be pushed in a perfect straight pattern. You're going to be pushed from different types of angles, jerked around different types of ways, shoved this way, shoved that way, knocked down, tackled. So you need to be able to be able to handle a type of force, not in such a a linear type of fashion. So again, you need to look at what sport you're doing, and also specificity. All that means is training for what you're going to do, training how you want to perform. If you don't play any sports, but let's just say your goals intensity, or your goals to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to exercises. And this will lead me to the exercises example, is things like single leg squats or a single arm farmer carry. Especially, like, that's one of my favorites is farmer carries. But for a single arm farmer carry, one, the increased core activation required for a single arm farmer carry makes it extremely difficult. If you don't know what a farmer carry is, it's just you hold 2 dumbbells at your side, you keep a proper posture, and you just start walking. But you pick, because it's a simple exercise and you're just walking with dumbbells, you pick heavy dumbbells. But for a single arm farmer carry, it's self-explanatory. You just use 1 dumbbell in one hand. But trust me, if you use a heavy dumbbell, you're just gonna want to end up leaning to the side like that. But to prevent yourself, you're gonna have to contract your core, contract your obliques, obviously your rectus abdominis. You're gonna have to keep your transverse abdominis tight to be able to stand upright with proper posture. Which again, that does a lot of things. One, it helps you keep correct posture. If you can keep correct posture with a heavy dumbbell on one side, you're going to be able to do it throughout the rest of the day. So one, that can help correct your posture. 2, it can definitely increase glute core activation, help you get an overall stronger core. 3, because you're working a lot more musculature, it's going to be a lot more taxing on your body, which again, depending on the weight you pick, if you pick something around like 60-second max duration, that could definitely be an exercise added to your cardio. 4, it's good for overall musculature. Carrying heavy weights, one of the best things you can do. Look at strongmen. Strongmen always carry heavy weight. Just doing it a single arm might reduce the overall strength that you're going to do in the long run when it comes to, like, for example, strongman, but at the same time, you're going to get other perceived benefits like increased core activation, which can carry over to when you go back to using both hands. So again, these are the benefits of unilateral exercises. Please don't ignore this. A lot of people do. Definitely incorporate them into your training. Again, check out my website, jpthepersonaltrainer.com. I have all my social media linked on there, my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and obviously you're here on my YouTube already. If you have any questions about this stuff, you can message me on my Facebook. That's the best place to get me, is message me on Facebook. My real name is Julian Powers. You can message me on there. My website for my Facebook is JP the Personal Trainer. So again, jpthepersonaltrainer.com. Hit me up there if you have any questions, comments, anything like that. You could post them down below. Recommendations for new videos, post them down below. But until next time, see you guys. Peace.